Well, I'm here in Independence, Missouri, which was the starting point for people traveling on the Oregon Trail. I'm standing right in front of Courthouse Square in downtown Independence, Missouri. And Independence is a town, it's actually a city of about 115,000 people. And today it's really just right in the middle of the sprawl that is really Kansas City. When you come in, you really can't tell where Independence starts and Kansas City ends and vice versa. It's just one big area. The whole Kansas City metropolitan area is about almost 2 million people. But downtown Independence is kind of a historic little place. And right behind me is, like I say, the Jackson County Courthouse, which was built during Harry Truman's time. But during the 1820s, this was the frontier. This town got, I think, formed in 1828, and the pioneers leaving here on the Oregon Trail all kind of gathered here because this was as far up as the riverboats could come on the Missouri, and I'll show you where that point is. But Courthouse Square has been here since the start, and right around all the areas here is where everybody gathered to begin their journey. Yeah, downtown Independence, this is where everybody gathered in the 1840s, 1830s. All around here, if I panned around, this is all just a city now, downtown blocks and stuff. But in the 1820s and 30s, all around here you would have seen wagons and thousands of oxen out being pastured down over there. And everybody came here to get outfitted and set out on the Oregon Trail. And this, as I said, this was the frontier. You couldn't really go or settle any further west from here due to the Indian Non-Intercourse Act of 1834. That act stipulated that nobody could settle west of the Missouri, west of here, unless they had permission from the federal government. It was actually Indian territory. Indian tribes, Native Americans were being resettled there, and nobody could settle here. So this was as far as you could go. This was the end of the line, so to speak. And that's why people kind of came here, and they could travel across the plains. They could go across Nebraska and Kansas, but they couldn't settle there. So this is where they got outfitted, get all their supplies to take the trip and to leave on their journeys. I'm at Pioneer Spring in right downtown Independence. This was one of the original springs. It's really why people kind of came and settled here in Independence, was there was several of these freshwater springs kind of right near the river. And so it was an area where people could kind of camp overnight or whatever back, you know, in the day there. But this was actually a famous spring because it was actually used by the pioneers to fill this was where they kind of filled their water barrels before they left on the trail, because getting water, good quality, clean water out on the plains was a problem, which I'll talk about kind of some next segment. So this was kind of one of the last points to get some nice fresh water. So they made a little park here called Pioneer Springs, and I'll show you kind of, they have a historic cabin. Get out of the picture, kind of walk around, which I'll show you. But yeah, historic log cabin is here also. Can't go inside it, but you can see it looks pretty old. Yeah, here there's a little memorial to the Potawatomi Indians. So like I say, the Oregon Trail is kind of a European settler history, but I'm glad at some points they have some of the Native American history kind of embedded in what I'm going to see here. And here's an example of that right here, this little memorial. I'll kind of get out of the picture and pan down so you can see it. But this is a little memorial to the Potawatomi Indian tribes who were resettled from Indiana out to Kansas. And I'm not sure if you can see it that well, but it says, in remembrance of the forced removal of the Potawatomi people from their homes in northern Indiana to Miami County. So, like I say, I'm glad I got a chance to see that. I just kind of stumbled upon it. Well, I'm at Wayne City Landing in Independence. Right below me, I'm kind of bummed out you can't see the river, but right below me, the vegetation's kind of hiding it, is the Missouri River. And this is as far up as the riverboats could come on the river over here. They could come up as far as this landing, because further up the river is the Kansas River comes in, and the shoals and stuff. The riverboats couldn't make it up that far, so they came here. And this is where people who we're doing the Oregon Trail. A lot of them came by riverboat, from down the Ohio, up the Mississippi, and then up the Missouri, and they could get as far as this point, the Wayne City Landing. And so they left here and kind of trekked all their way up to Independence, where I was just a few minutes ago. Well, I'm at the National Frontier Trails Museum in Independence. This is a museum about the trails, actually from Independence. It's the start of the trail for the Oregon Trail, the California Trail, the Santa Fe Trail, and some people started from the Mormon Trail here. So they have this museum here, which I'm going to go check out. They actually have 3 of these on the trail. There's this one in Independence. There's one in, let me see, Casper, Wyoming. And there's another one out in Oregon. I forget the name, if it's Bend, Oregon, or where it actually is, but they've got these museums along the way, so you can kind of see artifacts and read some more stories about people. So, hey, I'm going in, check it out. This was a typical wagon they used. It was a farm wagon, not the big Conestogas that people see in the movies and stuff, but it was a 4x10 foot farm wagon. And this is what all their provisions went in. Most of them were outfitted to carry their food, and there was a whole bunch of stuff they had to carry, but this is what a typical wagon looked like. Kind of what the trail looked like. This is a picture, just a painting showing what the wagons might have looked like going over South Pass, which is in Wyoming. South Pass is this kind of saddle. You see, we're going to see this, but it was easy to take the wagons over when they went over this way, but they all went, 4 or 5 wagons abreast to keep the dust down. So I'm still in the National Frontier Trails Museum, and this wagon here is a Conestoga wagon. It's kind of a little bit out of place here, because a Conestoga wagon was really a freight wagon. It was used for hauling grain and a lot of crop goods to market. It was originally built in the Pennsylvania area, Ohio area, but it was a wagon that was really used in the flatlands, not one really used on these trails. And you can see the bottom of the wagon is curved, and that was really so the supplies and everything would stay put. Primarily if it was hauling grain, corn, vegetables, it would all kind of stay put in the wagon. But it was not a wagon used on the trails. Even though it is here, it's kind of out of place. The wagon I showed you before, which was the farm wagon, was the one mostly used on these trails. Well, that was the National Frontier Trails Interpretive Center Museum. It was okay. If you don't know anything about the trails, it's got some good background there. I've got a lot of good diary quotes from people as far as what they were experiencing or feeling on the trail. So for me, it was I'd seen or read most of the stuff that was already in there. But if you're not familiar with the trail, it's a good place to start and kind of get some quick background. You can spend 30 minutes there. For me, a senior, costs $5 to go through, so it's good. So that was my visit to Independence, and now I'm going to hit the trail myself.